You're at work, sitting with your team in the break room, laughing at the right moments, joining in just enough, but inside, you feel more like a visitor than a real part of the group. In the group chat, at meetings, and after-work drinks, you show up and participate, yet the real bonding, the "we're a family here" energy, always seems to form slightly to the side of you. At family gatherings, you're at the table, telling stories, passing dishes, smiling in photos, yet it still feels like there's a thin sheet of glass between you and everyone else. You can talk to almost anyone, move between circles easily, but nowhere ever feels like true home base. You're always near the group, never quite in it. And in the quiet moments, you ask yourself, why do I never feel fully at home in any group? What does that say about me? If you've spent your whole life feeling around people but never fully belonging to any circle, what psychology says about minds like yours is something most of us are never taught, and it might completely change how you see your outsider role. After enough years of this, people and you start giving it names. You're too quiet, you're intense, you're picky, you're just not a people person. You watch tight friend groups form around things you don't really care about: office politics, parties, endless gossip, sports, and a part of you whispers, maybe I'm just not built for belonging. Social media doesn't help. Photos of the squad, my people, the work family, while you feel like a permanent +1 in every room you enter. So you turn it inward. Everyone else seems to find a tribe. Why don't I? Am I the common denominator? Am I just too weird to fit anywhere? Culture glorifies having a tight circle to do life with, and you're left wondering if the fact that you've never really had that means something is fundamentally wrong with you. Most people like you stop there and quietly decide they're defective, but that's only because nobody ever explained what kind of wiring sits underneath this never at home in any group feeling. What most people don't tell you is that never fully feeling at home in any group doesn't automatically mean you're broken. Very often it means you're wired as what we might call an edge walker. Psychology and sociology both suggest that people who don't fuse completely with a group often develop a stronger individual identity and a sharper observer perspective. You stand close enough to understand how groups work, but just far enough outside to keep thinking for yourself. While some people happily absorb the group's beliefs, habits, and drama, a part of you keeps a small distance, watching what's really going on here. Does this actually fit me? Your discomfort with forced belonging isn't just social failure. It's also a sign of a mind that refuses to trade its own compass for the comfort of being identical to everyone around you. In the next part, we'll break down the psychology behind this edge walker wiring your need for authenticity, your pattern's sensitive radar, and the trust rules your nervous system quietly wrote after past experiences, and how those pieces together explain why you've always felt around every group but never really inside it. To really understand why you float at the edge of every circle, you have to look at how you're built. First, there's your need for authenticity. Some people can easily bend to fit the group, laugh at things they don't find funny, pretend to care about things they don't, just to belong. Your system doesn't tolerate that very well. When you fake it, it feels like a tiny act of self-betrayal. So instead of reshaping yourself to match the room, you naturally hold a little distance. You'd rather feel slightly out of place than completely unreal. Then there's your observer mind. Because you're not fully absorbed into any one circle, you slide into watcher mode. You notice who dominates every conversation, who gets talked over, who never shows up when others need them. You see when a close group is actually built on gossip, competition, or everyone orbiting one louder personality. That pattern sensitivity is a gift. It makes you better at reading dynamics, sensing red flags early, and thinking independently. But it also means you can't just switch off your brain and chant, "These are my people," if the energy feels wrong. Finally, there's your trust threshold, shaped by your past. If you've been excluded, mocked, or misunderstood, a lot at school, at home. At work, your nervous system has quietly raised the bar for what home means. You can mingle, join, contribute, but a part of you rarely lets groups all the way in because home never really felt safe to begin with. That sliver of distance you feel, it's your self-protection saying, don't relax completely until we know this is different. Most people only see that you never quite fit in. They don't see the integrity, the radar, and the protective instinct working from the edge. The real question is whether that edge is giving you freedom or quietly cutting you off from the kind of connection you actually want. Here's where things get honest. Standing at the edge gives you real freedom. you're less likely to get swept up in groupthink. Less likely to stay in toxic circles just because we've always been friends. More able to walk away when something feels off. That's a strength. But the same stance can slowly harden into loneliness if you start believing no one will ever really get me, or if you use your outsider status as proof that you shouldn't even try. On the outside, it can look like high standards and independence. On the inside, it can feel like being permanently on the outside of the glass, watching connection instead of risking it. The question that starts to shift things is subtle. Am I choosing the edge because it fits my values, or because I'm afraid of being hurt, seen, or disappointed again? When you see yourself clearly, your story stops being "I'm the one who never fits anywhere" and starts sounding more like the truth. You have an edgewalker mind with a strong inner compass and a sensitive radar for group dynamics. You were never meant to completely dissolve into the crowd. You're the person who stands just far enough outside to see what's really going on, to spot the cracks, to notice who's hurting, who's ignored, what doesn't add up. That's not a defect. That's a particular kind of strength. But edgewalkers still deserve connection. For you, home might never be a big loud squad. It might look like 1 or 2 people. You can be fully yourself with a small circle where you don't have to perform, or communities you visit without forcing yourself to fit every part of their mold. Instead of chasing the fantasy of one perfect group that finally makes you feel normal, you can ask, which spaces feel least fake to me? Who makes my nervous system exhale? And build from there. If this felt like someone finally put your lifelong outsider feeling into words, you're not the only one walking the edge like this. Subscribe and stay close if you want more videos that decode traits like yours without shaming them. And tell me in the comments where you've always felt almost in, but not quite, because next, we're going even deeper into how people like you quietly shape the world. Not by blending in, but by seeing what those inside the group often can't.